I know you're in here, Ryan screamed at the top of his lungs. Blame and I were below decks and in a random storage room, where resurrected Ryan was screaming at us from outside and going crazy. Kor and the ancient order of Kalatagathalku had ambushed us with extremely unexpected force. Bunch of crappy militiamen and cultists were raising all heaven around us. All right, I said, rubbing my hands. Let's see what he has for us. Blame dumped an assorted pile of supplies onto the table. There was a huge monkey wrench, a textbook, a flare gun, a flashlight, and a screwdriver. Well, this is all useless, Blame said. That's right, I said as Ryan started breaking down the thick steel door. I'll take the flare gun and textbook. You want the screwdriver and monkey wrench? Hell yeah! Blame grabbed the screwdriver and monkey wrench as I loaded the flare gun and grabbed the manual textbook in my other hand. Ryan kicked the door down with a tremendous boom and entered, screaming at the top of his lungs and throwing the detached door at us. It would have decapitated me, but Ryan missed with 1 inch, the wind and force from the throw shoving the fear of God down my throat. Holy crap, this guy's on steroids! I fired the flare gun at his face and it exploded in his eye. Ryan screamed and swore at us. Eat this, bitch! Blame swung the monkey wrench at Ryan's jaw with enough force that it should have taken his head off. But his head only flew back and smashed into the wall as he stumbled back. Kill him! I yelled. Dude, shank his fucking face! Blame slammed the sharp screwdriver into Ryan's other eye and pulled it out, immediately stabbing Ryan again in the throat. Have you been working out? I laughed. I slammed the textbook into Ryan's face when he caught the quickly moving heavy object between his pinky and thumb as he laughed, spitting blood on me. Oh crap. His eyes slowly grew back and his throat wound closed. He grinned ear to ear before grabbing me and throwing me onto one of the walls. It would have shattered my ribs if I wasn't wearing the bulletproof vest. Blame snuck behind Ryan and started swinging the monkey wrench into Brian's spine, like his favorite switchblade was on the line. And I finally heard the gratifying crack after the 9th swing as Ryan collapsed, paralyzed. Or at least we thought he was paralyzed. He suddenly jumped up and threw a wild right hook at Blame, sending him across the room. It had only grazed his cheek slightly, but still left a bruise and a huge red mark. Fuck! He yelled. Smoke this bitch! Ryan charged at me, and I blocked his punch with the textbook and slammed it in his face, causing him to briefly stumble. I quickly ducked and grabbed the monkey wrench Blame had dropped, using it to smash out his kneecaps. He got a hold of my legs and tripped me, as he crawled over to me and prepared to turn my face into mashed potatoes. Blame suddenly stabbed the screwdriver into Ryan's back, then kicked it, driving it in deep. Blame grabbed the monkey wrench and a baseball bat and swung it at Ryan's face, knocking him back. Ryan swore and fell as Blame started beating Ryan with the monkey wrench, as I told him to get out. He would probably heal very fast anyway, though we curb-stomped him and beat him before running outside to meet absolute chaos. Greenie was holding back hundreds of monsters, trying to swarm up onto the sides of the ship, as some slipped through the ranks. Task Force Nova Compass Hunter was nowhere to be seen, though the undead Nazi was torching monsters by the hundreds. Marlowe was sniping monsters from the railing, and he waved at us. Marlowe! I yelled as a reanimated Ryan jumped out of the room we were just in. Shoot him! Oh crap, he's still alive? Marlowe yelled. Ryan lost his shit when he saw us, screaming and flailing his arms as he ran at us. Marlowe fired into Ryan's back, probably snapping his spine and melting his insides with the bullet. But he missed his head as the bullet exited Ryan's solar plexus. Ryan stopped moving for 10 seconds and I let out a sigh of relief. But then the asshole jumped up and tackled Blame. Ryan raised his fist for what would surely be a fatal hit. Oh shit. I spotted a dead soldier near me and took an M4 carbine from him. I emptied the magazine into Ryan's chest. He shook and coughed up black blood, falling back as I continuously slammed the butt of the gun into Ryan's face. I picked up and put a new magazine into the rifle and started pelting the undead asshole with more bullets, but even after that, he was still alive. "All right," I yelled. "We're screwed." Ryan got back up yet again and slowly picked up a pistol and pointed it at my face, just as a Wendigo charged at him like a bull and impaled him with its antlers, throwing Ryan into the ocean. Right after that, a 15-foot-tall deep crawler tackled the Wendigo off of the ship as the two fought in the water. A bearded man in combat gear ran past us, looking into the water where the two were fighting. He tossed me a shotgun, which I caught and loaded. What the hell? I almost laughed when I saw Ryan climb over the side of the battleship and jump onto the deck. "Rita!" I screamed. "Rita!" Rita, our friendly neighborhood Wendigo, walked over munching on a monster's corpse.
"Yeah, what the fuck do you want?"
"Can you kill that kid? He's like this... he just won't die, okay?" Rita cracked her knuckles and walked over to Ryan, staring him up and down before grinning. Ryan spat.
"Who the fuck are you?"
Rita grabbed Ryan's head and smashed him into the metal deck repeatedly. More blood and brains coming out every time. Surprising all of us, Ryan wiggled free and punched Rita in the face.
"Ah!"
she yelled. "Is this kid on steroids? Holy crap, is he even human?" "What are you waiting for? Beat his ass!" Blame screamed. Ryan charged Rita as she casually backhanded him into the railing, crawling over and grabbing his face, stomping it in, then ripping his head off and eating it, tearing all of his limbs off after that and throwing them into the ocean. My jaw hit the floor. "Is he dead?"
"Looks like it."
Rita laughed, wiping blood from her mouth.
"Hey!"
A seal yelled at us.
"You two!"
I slowly turned around to see the elite warrior holding an automatic rifle. He sighed. "You're both civilians and miners, so try to stay in the lower decks. Might as well do what you came here to do." The man tossed his two rifles. "You know how to use these?" Once the cultists saw us staring at them, everyone just stopped at once, and we stared at each other in a mental standoff. And, as if on cue, Lawrence walked into the cave room from one of the other tunnels, smoking a cigar and reading a newspaper, looking extremely unprepared and off guard as he saw us. He swore, dropping his stuff, and scrambled across the room, grabbing a shotgun. He aimed for my chest, but Carly calmly stepped forward, blocking the shot with her forearm guards. Her suit was destroyed and barely even there, but most of the metal exoskeleton could still stand up to regular bullets and shrapnel. Callie groaned at Lawrence, running up to him and taking another hit of scattered buckshot before grabbing him and throwing him against the wall. He would have died if his followers hadn't caught him at the last second, the force probably shattering a rib or two. The cultists all retreated, firing their weapons at us as we ran after them through the chambers and connected tunnels. A small section of the cave floor opened up, revealing an even deeper cave system flooded with seawater. A single large 12-fingered arm burst from the inky deep like something out of a cheesy 60s zombie movie. Callie ran and chopped off the arm, thrusting the arm back down and stabbing its owner. "Holy shit, I forgot she could do that," I muttered. A dozen monsters, all extremely grotesque, crawled and slithered out of the hole. There were giant leech-like things, humanoid things with alien skulls as heads, eldritch cephalopod creatures, masses of writhing tentacles and eyes, and some things I couldn't even describe, and won't bother to. Parasite Max sliced the first wave in half with a sword made out of his extremely malleable and flexible glistening black skin, his sharp blade biting the monsters. We were slicing through the monsters, and an even more messed up version of an angler nearly got past me, which I gladly lopped the head off of and impaled it. I grabbed a mutated deep crawler's head and shot it, smashing it so bad parts of the skull flew everywhere. And all of a sudden, the monsters stopped. Where did they all go? A huge, meaty monster jumped from the ceiling and landed on the ground, nearly smashing the ground in. It was this gigantic humanoid thing, at least 12 feet tall, extremely muscular with tentacles coming out of its back, with a head made out of human parts, all broken and smashed into one beach ball-sized thing with tendrils and black eyes. The abomination smiled. "Fuck, he's a big guy." Kyle cackled like Satan and threw a massive wooden pole, which gruesomely skewered the monster in the head. The monster screamed, staggering back. It pulled the spear out, a burst of disgusting black blood flowing from its head. I looked at the spear wound very closely, noticing that it was not regenerating, or at least not as fast as the other creatures. We could kill this thing, or at least I thought we could. Carly rushed forward and threw a punch at the monster, a punch which could probably sink naval ships and kill elephants. The meat monster, don't call it that, caught Carly's punch and broke her arm easily, the armor around it shattering. Carly looked unsurprised, as I ran and impaled the monster through the knee. It screamed, falling. It tried to backhand me, missing, but the force and the wind of the backhand alone sent me back a few inches. Carly threw a chunk of stone at the creature, catching its attention. "Roger," she said. "Throw me a spear." "What? To you? Or at you?" "To me, dumbass. You trying to kill me or something?" I took a step back and chucked the spear at Carly, as she caught it with one hand, giving a good spin before she jammed it into the monster's face, shoving it out the other side. Using only brute force, she kicked the monster down and used both of her hands to rip open its chest, pulling out the monster's hearts and chucking them across the room, as they all splattered on the cave walls. If the monster wasn't dead right now, we were screwed. "Holy shit, that's brutal," I said.
"An absolute masterpiece displaying combat,"
Kyle said, mocking Carly's accent. We traveled through various tunnels and systems before we came across the rest of the group. Having just left another junction in the caverns, Gary, Matt, Hugo, and Jack were all covered head to toe in monster blood, insides, guts, and rapidly healing. Gary was holding Lawrence by the arm with an iron grip as he tried to escape. "What's up?" Gary yelled.
"Fuck yeah,"
Kyle said as he spat in Lawrence's face and laughed. "What happened to you?" Matt asked. "Where's Max?" "Right behind us," Carly replied. "Great," Matt said. "Listen, we gotta get the hell out of here now. There's a swarm of those things chasing us right now." I heard screeches and roars come from the tunnel they had just come from, so we all looked for another tunnel to go down as we got the hell out of there. "This guy won't shut the hell up," Gary said, shaking Lawrence as he swore and yelled. Lawrence suddenly pulled out a pistol and fired several shots into Gary's uncovered face, causing him to let go and yell, trying to reach for Lawrence as he was blinded. "Shit," Matt said. "What the fuck, Gary?"
"Shot me in the eyes, shithead! You want me to shoot you in the fucking eyes?"
I turned just to see Lawrence flipping us off, firing a few shots as he made a mad dash towards the swarm of creatures. The roaring of the monsters was getting closer. "We'll get him later. We need to go up to the surface now. The fleet is getting screwed up and they need backup. Right fucking now," Matt groaned. "Why are you talking and not running?" I screamed, already 30 feet ahead of him. "Kiss my ass," Matt said, beginning to run. We ran like hell to the other side of the tunnel, which opened up into a gigantic cave chamber with a shaky wooden bridge, presumably built by the cult, connecting to the other side. Going over a deep abyss too deep for me to see the bottom. When I shined my extremely bright flashlight around the cave walls, they were covered and swarming in hundreds of eldritch monstrosities now zeroing in on us, some falling into the crevasse as they leaped out. Fuck me, we going over this bitch? Someone said, sighing. You think you can jump over that? Matt said, pointing over what must have been a 400-foot jump to the other side. I'm sure all of us are too injured to make that jump. We could wait until we heal up in a few seconds, or just walk. Fuck no, we're walking. I took one step on the bridge and heard it creak extremely loud, racking with dust as spider-like creatures scrambled from the sudden motion. Hey, Matt, how about you go be a great fucking leader and test the bridge out for us? I said, nervously grinning. How about you go fuck off? Matt sighed, knowing he, the leader of this operation, was obliged to test it out for the team. Fuck. I grinned as Matt took one step onto the bridge, and it instantly fell through, collapsing as he descended the extremely deep pit the bridge was going over. Well, he's dead. Have some faith in the bastard, Carly said, peering over the extremely deep pit as the monsters continued to flank us. The United States didn't feed billions into that guy for nothing. We waited for a full 3 seconds as Matt finally hit the bottom. We heard a loud thud as he impacted whatever was down there.
Matt!
Gary yelled down the hall.
Matt, you piece of shit, are you alive? Yeah.
Matt's very faint voice came from the deep pit.
There's a lake at the bottom.
Fuck it, I'm going down, Gary said, holding his nose and jumping into the pit.
Hey!
I had a mini mental panic attack.
What the hell am I supposed to do? Hitting the water from this height will bloody kill me.
Pussy. Carly laughed as she rolled her eyes and jumped. What a weirdo, I said, sighing. Jack and Hugo jumped, and that only left Kyle and me.
It's probably not that deep,
Kyle said as the monsters got very, very close. These shitty suits of armor will probably save us. What's a broken bone or two? It's easy for you to say when you're a self-diagnosed psychopath and narcissist who feels no fear.
Oh, you only live once.
Kyle grinned as he jumped. I sighed and ran over the edge. I held my breath and waited a full 7 seconds as I fell through the darkness before I finally plunged into the ice-cold water, shocked as I pulled on the cord, inflating the emergency life jacket in an instant. Carl was right. My minimalist suit of armor did save me from certain death, because the steel boots with the plates and padding surrounding my legs were designed to absorb the shock extremely well and cut straight through the water like a knife. Well, besides that, it still hurt like the worst belly flop I had ever experienced in my life, and that's saying a lot because I fell in the water feet first. What I later learned was that the pit was over 1,000 feet deep, so we all only fell 200 feet with absolutely no cliff jumping experience, but I swear to God I saw Gary do a front flip whilst falling. Also, a cave system this massive under a motherfucking island didn't even make sense at all, which led me to believe that the occult had something to do with the lack of physics and natural laws. Everyone okay? Matt said as he coughed up a lungful of water.
Gary, Hugo, Jack, Carly, Kyle.
Yeah, we're all good. Fucking hell, Kelly said. I think I sucked in like 2 gallons of salt water. Everyone else was fine when Callie was suddenly pulled down under the water, choking and swearing as we lost sight of her in the inky depths in seconds. Well, she's dead. We all thought Callie was dead until she resurfaced, holding the gigantic decapitated head of an eldritch eel creature in her hand, the size of a refrigerator. Remember those other eels we fought when we fell into the other underground lake? She said. Yeah? Those were babies. These are 60 feet long at least. There's got to be hundreds of them under us. What the A gigantic, grotesque eel with dozens of eyes and ripped-off tendril stumps burst out of the water and nearly bit Gary in half, crushing his suit as he swore and punched the eel, denting its skull. He pulled out a large combat knife and stabbed the eel in one of its eyes, slipping out of the eel's jaws as he hung onto the handle of the knife, his broken bones regenerating as he grabbed the knife and slid the blade along the monster's stomach, killing it. Kyle pulled out a backup rifle and began rapid firing into the water beneath him as eerie dark masses encircled us. All the while, monsters from above the pit dropped down and started assaulting us. "All right," I said, nearly getting dragged under. "We need to get the hell out of here, to the other side, if that's what you were planning by jumping down here this entire time." "Right," Matt said. "Hold this." Matt reached into a compartment in his suit and pulled out a very, very long wrapped coil of a parachute rope before tossing it to me. "When you get to the other side, tie the rope to something so we can climb out." "What? No!" Matt grabbed me and threw me hundreds of feet out of the pit, and I roughly landed on the rocky floor on the other side of the way we came from. I cursed Matt, threw a couple of borrowed grenades, and cleared the monsters from the space I was in. I quickly unraveled the rope and tied it to some kind of weird cult altar beside the bridge, giving it a few tugs to make sure it was fine. Then it was back to fighting monsters. "Climb the hell up!" I screamed down into the pit. Hugo scrambled to the rope, and the older man quickly ran up the hole's walls and crawled out, as the others climbed. Since Kyle didn't have any remaining strength to climb up the hundreds of feet of rope, Carly just pulled him up as the others followed, and we all got to running the hell out of there. Matt destroyed the entrance of the tunnel we were exiting the cave system through, collapsing it as we ran to stop the monsters from following us. "Holy crap," I breathed. "Why the hell did I bring my 15-year-old nephew and sign up for this shit?"